African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let everybody know that your sister with the curly braids is on now. Beloved, be sure to share the broadcast. This helps other folks know that we're here, of course. Sometimes the notifications don't go out, so be sure to check daily for my content, beloved, my broadcast, and of course, my colleagues. And let everybody know when you share the broadcast, you help to activate the algorithm so that others are notified. Thank you so very much. And one of the things you can do also to expand our voice is download the app. That way you can see our uncensored content, all types of yummy content from African Diaspora News Channel. That's essentially another platform of ours that we control. So, beloved, you want to be sure to do that today. Thank you so very much, family. Certainly, you have seen my coverage, back-to-back coverage for some time now on the Nigerian government and their partnerships with their brothers and sisters within the vicinity in the Sahel area, the changes that they're making and overthrowing colonial and oppressive forces, and in fact, ejecting them out of their country. This certainly has not come without consequence. I want to remind you again of something that the colonel and spokesperson for the leadership there, of course, the military leadership, Colonel Amadou Abadramande said recently. Watch this clip.
The US presence on the territory of the Republic of Niger is illegal and violates all the constitutional and democratic rules which would require the sovereign people, in particular through its elected representatives, to be consulted on the installation of a foreign army on its territory.
The decision follows a visit by US officials. Abdraman said the US delegation did not follow diplomatic protocol and that Niger was not informed about the composition of the delegation, the date of its arrival, or the agenda.
So he makes it clear, and I just, of course, wanted to remind you, many of you have seen that already, that he states that the US presence there is illegal. Of course, in the previous broadcast that I've done, he talks about how the United States violated diplomatic protocols. Of course, this is in addition to its exploitation and commandeering of its land and unfortunately the sovereignty of its people. Well, family, one of the things that the colonel noted, and I believe that has gotten very little attention worldwide, that is the fact, and I'm going to quote him here. He says, quote, Niger regrets the intention of the American delegation to deny the sovereign Nigerian people the right to choose their partners and types of partnerships capable of truly helping them fight against terrorism. He goes on, and again, I'm quoting him. Also, the government of Niger forcefully denounces the condescending attitude accompanied by the threat of retaliation from the head of the American delegation towards the Nigerian government and people. He says that the U.S. American delegation who came to his country unannounced, without informing them of the delegation composition and without informing him of the date and the agenda. Not only did America throw her dirty weight around with her condescending and arrogant self, she threatens him. This piece goes on to say the U.S. Department of Defense did not immediately respond to a request for comment. I bet you didn't. Threaten him. Threaten retaliation. It's not your land, America. It's not your resources, America. It's not your people, America. You cannot say that we're not sounding the alarm here to prevent America from this train wreck that she's driving. When we bring up the malfeasance, the inhumanity that America is engaged in, it's because we want her to change course. We're not here beating up on our own country for nothing. We want you to course correct so that you won't hasten your own doom. What do you look like threatening retaliation against a country and a government that you need? Do you think that they don't have the energy and the wherewithal to defend itself? And it's a shame, America. For those of you that may or may not know, and I need to remind you of this, the United States and our Western partners are upset and trying to control the partnerships of the Nigerian government as well. Listen to this. Not only did the colonel inform the public that the U.S. delegation showed up unannounced without telling it of its informing it of its delegation composition, the date they were coming, or its agenda. But he added that the discussions were around the current military transition when they showed up unannounced. In other words, he added that the discussions were around the current military transition in Niger, military cooperation between the two countries, and Niger's choice of partners in the fight against militants like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. This piece goes on to say that since seizing power in July of last year, the Niger junta, like the military rulers in the neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso, have kicked out French and other European forces and turned to Russia for support. So he makes it very clear that the United States wanted to tell them who to partner with in terms of putting down and effectively fighting terrorist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. So the United States, this lets you know that your partnership with them has not been effective in driving out these terrorist forces that you claim you're there to help them defend. Why are you disagreeing with the fact that they're bringing in partners that they choose to fight these terrorist forces? Unless, as we and others have credibly alleged, based on information and belief, we've given you reporting here from credible voices that some of these very nations and countries have accused the United States, France, and other European partners of creating terrorists, sponsoring some of these terrorists. Either they help to create the terrorist organizations or they sponsor them. Is that why you big mad that they bringing in folks like Russia? Because you know that they would effectively drive out the actual terrorists that they've credibly alleged that you've supported, sponsored, or created? Family, be sure to comment below. You can't say you can't see the handwriting on the wall because your sister with the curly braids, me, Vicki Dillard, born and raised in Mississippi, now living in the Wild Wild West, a daughter of America, a daughter of the planet. I keep sounding the alarm in hopes that you would slow your roll, America. But so far, you've refused to listen. Be sure.
Un rêve qui se réalise.
Take a listen at this epic exchange that the Burkina president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, had with a delegation from the African Institute for the Development of the Diaspora, that's led by Ambassador Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwayo, as he hosted him at his presidential palace in Ouagadougou on the Tuesday of May 7, 2024. With the theme of this exchange being Emancipation of Africa and Awakening of Consciences.
Being here in the country of the upright man is a dream come true. To President Traoré,
Your Excellency President Ibrahim Traoré, being here on the land of Burkina Faso today is truly a dream come true. The land of Thomas Sankara, and we see in you the reincarnation of Captain Thomas Sankara, and we are convinced that you are here to complete the work that they had already started. The work that they started in the 60s when they formed the Organization of the African Union to give a voice to Africa and to unite Africa. Excellency, Mr. President, we think that what is happening today in the Sahel, in Mali, in Niger, and in Burkina Faso are not coups d'etat, but a revolution, and the revolution to unite Africa, and Africa must unite, and we are convinced that this revolution will go beyond the borders of the Sahel.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr.
vous nous
President,
avez démontré
you have
qu'il
shown
est
us that it is
possible
possible to chase
de
away the
chasser nos
looters,
faussaires
to safeguard the
pour
land of
sauvegarder
our
la terre
ancestors
de
for our
nos
children.
ancêtres ou nos enfants. Nous sommes là aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président, pour
We are
trois
here
missions.
today, Mr.
La
President,
première
for
mission
3
qui nous amène
missions.
aujourd'hui, c'est
The
que, Monsieur
first
le
mission
Président,
that
je
brings
vous
us
amène
here
avec
today
moi
is that, Mr.
une
President,
délégation
I am bringing
de
with me a
descendants
delegation of
de
descendants of
la
the diaspora,
diaspora.
and among
Parmi
them,
eux,
there are
il y a des
descendants of
descendants
Africans
des
who were sold
Africains
to
qui étaient
slavery
arrachés à
almost 400
l'esclavage
years ago.
depuis déjà
Among them,
près
there
de
are also
400 ans.
Africans who live abroad
Parmi
in the
eux,
United
il y a
States,
aussi
Australia,
des
Europe, the Caribbean,
Africains
Latin
qui vivent à
America, and many other
l'extérieur, aux
African
États-Unis,
countries.
en Australie, en Europe, dans les Caraïbes, en Amérique latine et dans plusieurs d'autres pays africains. Parmi ceux de la diaspora,
Among those from the
il y en
diaspora,
a ici
there
ce
are some here
matin
this morning
qui, c'est
who,
leur
it is
première
their
fois
first time to set
de
foot on
fouler le
African
sol
soil.
africain. Ils amènent avec
They
eux
bring with them the spirit of their
l'esprit de leurs
ancestors,
ancêtres
so that they can
dont on a
finally
arraché
rest
à
in
l'Afrique
peace in the land of
pendant près
Burkina
de
Faso,
400
of
ans.
Thomas
Ils
Sankara.
ramènent leurs esprits pour qu'enfin ils se reposent en paix dans la terre du Burkina Faso de Thomas Sankara. La deuxième
The
raison
second
pour laquelle
reason
nous
why we
sommes
are here,
là,
Mr.
Monsieur le
President,
Président, c'est
is
pour
to
vous
give you our
apporter notre
support and
soutien
say that we are with you.
et dire que
You
nous
are
sommes
everything we
avec vous.
hoped for
Vous
and
êtes
we
tout
wanted
ce
from a
que nous
president.
avons espéré et nous avons voulu d'un président. Monsieur le Président, quand nous vous
Mr.
apprêtions à
President,
venir ici,
when we were
on
preparing
nous
to
a
come
dit
here,
qu'il ne faut pas
we were
venir au
told that
Burkina
we should
Faso.
not come to
Il
Burkina
y a
Faso,
une
that there is a
limite au
red
Burkina
line,
Faso, c'est
that
la
Burkina
guerre
Faso is at
et
war and it
c'est
is not stable,
instable,
that
c'est
it
pas
is not secure.
sécurisé. Mais je vous
But I
rassure, Monsieur le
reassure you,
Président, plus
Mr.
ils nous ont
President,
dit que le
that
Burkina
we came to
Faso
Burkina
n'est
Faso,
pas
and we are
sécurisé
proud
et
to
que
be
c'est
here
dangereux,
today
plus
to
nous
see the
avons
work
couru
that has
vers le
already been
Burkina Faso.
completed by you, the people of
Et nous
Burkina
sommes fiers
Faso.
d'être là aujourd'hui pour constater le travail qui a été déjà achevé. Vous, la population du Burkina Faso, alors c'est normal. Et c'est
Then it
notre
is normal,
responsabilité
and it
d'être
is our
là ce matin pour
responsibility
vous
to be
dire,
here
Monsieur le
this morning,
Président,
to
que
tell
nous
you,
sommes
Mr.
là,
President,
nous vous
that we are
supportons,
here,
nous sommes
we
avec
support
vous,
you, we
et
are
nous
with
sommes
you, and we are
capables, et nous sommes
capable, and we are
compétents, et nous voulons
competent,
aider.
and we want to help.
Et la troisième mission pour laquelle nous sommes là
And the third
aujourd'hui, Monsieur le
mission for which
Président,
we are
c'est
here
justement
today,
de
Mr.
demander
President, is
comment est-ce
precisely
que
to
on
ask
peut
how can we
apporter
support your
notre
leadership
soutien
in this transition.
à votre leadership et à cette transition. Parmi nous, il y a
Among
des
us,
experts
there
comme
are
des
experts
ingénieurs,
like
des
engineers,
architectes, des docteurs,
architects, businessmen, and
businessmen
many
et
others.
encore plein
And all we
d'autres.
dream,
Et tout ce que
Mr.
nous rêvons,
President,
Monsieur le
is to
Président,
bring our
c'est
capabilities
d'apporter
and
nos
our
capacités, nos
expertise to help build
expertises
Burkina
pour
Faso,
aider à
our Burkina
construire
Faso,
le
and to
Burkina
help build the
Faso,
united Africa
notre
that we
Burkina
dream of.
Faso, et d'aider à construire l'Afrique unie que nous rêvons autant.
Be fearless. Change is good. I don't.
So we are here. Our third mission is to see what can we do, Mr. President, to play our part in building the Burkina Faso we want.
On his part, this is what the impressed Burkina leader had to say in his speech.
Je suis ému et très content de vous voir.
I am moved and very happy to see you here in Burkina Faso. Since the SNC events, it is more than a pleasure that you chose to come here to Burkina.
Que vous ayez choisi de venir ici au Burkina. On vous a sûrement dit que c'est un pays.
They surely told you that it is an unvisitable country. They told you that it's death here. It's war. There is only negative things, and Burkina is called black. That here, only blood and weapons flow. That's what is said elsewhere.
Les armes, c'est ce qui se dit ailleurs. Dieu merci, vous êtes bien arrivés.
Thank God you arrived safely. You were able to be in Bobo Dioulasso. You've lived with us. Our culture is what binds us Africans.
Nous, Africains. Vous avez pu communier avec beaucoup d'autres nationalités qui sont venues.
You were able to commune with many other nationalities who came to celebrate with us. Everything went very well. Now you are in Ouagadougou, and I hope that you are very well received, very well housed, and that you managed to commune with your brothers here. This is an important message that you are sending to everyone, and now you will be the ambassadors of this message when you are at home. That Burkina is very friendly. We live in Burkina Faso. What they want to make people believe is not Burkina. This is what they draw to get people to flee Burkina, and they depict all of Africa like that. For them, Africa is misery. Africa is famine. Africa is war, but it's them who are responsible for this war.
Nous avons besoin de nous
We
unir.
need to unite, but they have always been there to divide us, to be able to reign on us through slavery.
L'esclavage, nos ancêtres l'ont vécu.
Our ancestors experienced it, and until today, we have it fed up in our flesh, but it
Et ça
continues.
continue. Nos grands-pères étaient déportés.
Our great people were deported, tortured, and again when they had their war, we supported them, but they paid us in monkey money.
Ils nous ont payés en monnaie de singe. D'autres ont été tués lorsqu'ils ont essayé de revendiquer.
Others were killed when they tried to
Plusieurs
stake their
d'entre eux sont
claim.
morts dans leur village.
Several of them died in their village as a result of the war.
On n'a
Never
jamais
recognized the
reconnu
work
le
of the
travail des
African.
Notre mission
Our mission is first of all to awaken Africa and do better, so that you from the diaspora can make people understand what Africa is.
pour faire comprendre ce que c'est que l'Afrique. Quand je vous vois unis dans
When
cette
I see you,
association,
united in this association,
je
I
me
feel
sens
even more proud
fier.
because that's all we are asking for
Parce que c'est
today.
tout ce que nous
Our
devons.
fight is to be able to unite,
Notre combat,
because united we are
c'est pouvoir
strong,
nous unir.
divide we are
Parce
weak.
que unis, nous sommes forts. Divisés, on est faible. Ils ont toujours travaillé à nous diviser.
They have always
Je
worked to
vous
divide
exhorte à
us,
passer le
so I
message
urge you
pour
to
que
spread the
l'Afrique
message
puisse
so that Africa can unite.
Nous avons la chance ou la malchance.
We have been lucky
de vivre la
or
guerre.
unlucky enough to live through war for several years,
Et à un moment donné, il fallait dire
and at some
ça, c'est-
point, we had to say enough is enough, that
nous
we are
avons
fed
pris nos
up.
responsabilités.
We have taken our
Nous nous rendons
responsibilities and we
compte
realize today
aujourd'hui
more
plus
than
que
ever
jamais
that we were right
que
to
nous
take
avons
our
eu raison de prendre nos
responsibilities.
responsabilités. Parce que ces armées étaient
Because these
installées ici.
armies that were installed here were never able at any time to monitor our territory, to see the terrorists who came to kill us and leave with all the means they had when we asked them to leave.
Avec tous les moyens qu'ils avaient. Lorsque nous avons demandé de partir,
Today, we were able to acquire an array of means that allow us to wage our war and ward off the threat,
d'éloigner la
and contain
menace
it.
et de l'endiguer, je dirais. Nous avons pu équiper nos forces et
I would say,
reconstituer nos armées.
we were able to equip our forces and replenish our armies. They don't necessarily like
Nous
it,
sommes là,
and they will create other schemes, but we are here and we will stand.
qui êtes loin et qui nous soutenez. Nous tiendrons toujours
Thanks to you, we will always stand up,
parce que l'Africain,
because the
c'est la
African spirit
résilience.
is resilience.
Nous avons assez souffert.
We have suffered enough.
La
The
première
first
chose
thing you could do for
que vous
Africa
pourriez faire pour
is through
l'Afrique,
spreading the positive message that enough looting, enough deaths, it's time for us to unite and work.
assez de
We
monde.
only ask to live with dignity, and to live free.
Nous demandons à vivre dignement, à vivre libre. Passer le message pour
To
éveiller la
pass the
conscience.
message to raise awareness.
Certains gouvernants
Some leaders always try to put their people to sleep and continue to plunder their people for the benefit of the West. It
il
must
faut que ça
stop.
cesse. Qui mieux que
And who
vous
is better
pour
than
passer
you
ce
to pass
message
this message
aux
to the
différents
different
peuples?
peoples?
L'Afrique doit se réveiller. L'Afrique est encore vierge. Tout est à
Africa
faire
must
en
wake up.
Afrique.
Young people must wake up.
Regardez,
Everything needs to be done in
comment nous
Africa.
sommes.
Look at how our
Nous
cities
pouvons aussi
are.
développer
We can also develop our
système
health
de
and
santé,
education systems.
d'éducation.
We can develop everything. So in this
Voilà
rich
que dans cette
diaspora,
diaspora
we have all
riche,
the specialties
nous avons
today.
toutes les spécialités. Aujourd'hui au
In
Burkina,
Burkina,
nous sommes en
we
train
are
de
thinking
réfléchir à
about
mettre en
setting up
place
a
une
polytechnic university just to
université
train
polytechnique,
scientific
rien que pour
engineers,
former des
and I think you will be
ingénieurs
welcome because as long as we will
scientifiques.
not
Je pense que
train
vous
the
serez le
youth,
bienvenu pour apprendre à vos jeunes frères. Parce que tant que nous ne formerons pas
so that we
notre
ourselves
jeunesse
can produce and
à ce que nous
process our
puissions
produce
nous-mêmes
here on
produire
site,
et
we will
transformer
always
ici sur
remain
place,
slaves.
nous resterons toujours esclaves. La souveraineté,
Sovereignty is a whole, and we are fighting
nous
for
sommes en
food
train de nous battre pour
self-sufficiency.
l'autosuffisance alimentaire. Ceux-là qui peuvent
Those who
investir
can invest in
dans
the
l'industrie
agri-food industry
agroalimentaire pour
to process
transformer
our
nos
products
produits ici,
here, you are
vous êtes les
welcome.
bienvenus. Nous produisons tout ici.
We produce everything here, everything grows on our soil, and those who want to invest in agriculture are welcome.
Ceux qui veulent investir dans l'agriculture sont les bienvenus. Ceux qui veulent investir dans la transformation sont les bienvenus.
Those who want to invest in processing are welcome.
Nous voulons transformer
Education, we want to transform our education because the formatting that we are currently experiencing is from the school they had channeled to us, so that the intellectuals for most parts cannot think about leaving the furrows that they have traced.
Dieu merci, les consciences sont en
Thank
train de
God,
s'éveiller.
consciences
On a
are
besoin de
awakening.
plus. On a
We
besoin
need
de
more.
changer le système
We need to change the education
Vous êtes les
system.
bienvenus.
You are welcome on that.
Et il y a beaucoup d'autres chemins.
and there are many other paths. They were looting our wealth, but today we are regaining control and we are never going to leave our wealth behind because we want to live. We want to see our children cared for, educated, grow in peace and live in a healthy environment. So, we are open and you will be welcome in Africa to develop your continent, to unite your continent, and spread the message of this unity. It's very important. Continue to spread the message so that young people can wake up. Let them no longer let us leaders make them slaves for others. This must not be allowed. There are certain countries today
But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it. But everyone has a different story to tell. Shell, which says it's losing it.
The Tapper Market. Rise.
In Northeast Africa, precisely on the horn of Africa.
All right. Good afternoon, family. Once again, I am your host. This is Frank Mauba. This is the revolutionary aspect of WCC every Sunday, where we bring what is happening around the globe with the African people and the African nations and the African continent. So today's topic, it says, will the major perpetrators face justice, war and economic crime court of Liberia? So today is about Liberia. And I want to send out shout out to Miss Hetty. She been wishing for me to speak on this. But sometimes if we don't have the right information that we need to present, because we don't want to come out here based on opinion. Like we said, we have professors, we have PhDs who are watching the channel. So we want to make sure to bring the right information than to come out here and we don't have the information. And in doing that, we also speak to the spirit of our ancestor to direct us to information. So that's why this topic, I hold on a little bit, but we have some information to present. So, will the major perpetrators face justice? The War and Economic Crime Court of the Republic of Liberia. Now, the question then becomes, who are the major perpetrators? Because it is not just about the name War and Economic Crime Court. No. Who are the major perpetrators? Could the major perpetrators be the judge or the judges? Could the major perpetrators be the people who are trying to sponsor the Economic and War Crime Courts? Now, does the Economic and War Crime Court of Liberia have an alternative or a hidden motive that the Liberian people do not know? That the Senate, the House of Representatives in Liberia, do not know. And it seems that they do not know. Sorry to say this, but there are a lot of ignorance. Senators and representatives in Liberia, I think that they have gone and they have sat and they have put a pen on the paper about economic and war crime court because they saw a man, a white man named Allen White. Who is Allen White? Because they saw a white man named Allen White who went and sat with the president of the Republic of Liberia and who also sat to watch which one of the senator or representative will sign or will not sign. And those that will not sign, they might put sanction on them not to come to the white man land. But that is not my problem. Who signed or who did not sign? My problem here is, will the major perpetrators face justice for the economic and war crime court of Liberia? The question goes to the Liberian government. The question goes to the Liberian Senate. The question goes to the Liberian House of Representatives. We are saying this because we have come to know the major perpetrators. And we are saying this because we want them to go and do follow research. If they can, let them follow channel like this. Let them get in touch with us and we will give information to them. And let them read those information. Let them be a good reader. Now, let's get started. Even as much as the so-called sponsors of the economic and war crime code, even as much as the so-called white men that are living from here going to Liberia asking or fighting for the economic and war crime code, let me say this clearly today and right now. The so-called white men or white people that are fighting for economic and war crime code in Liberia, it is not for the interest of Liberia. Now, let me remind you, if they are leaving from the United States here, going to Liberia, fighting for the black men, fighting for justice for the black men in Africa, why can't they fight for the justice of the black men in America here? Why can't they fight for the justice of the black men in America here? What have they denied? Reparation. Why can't they fight for reparation? Now, I am not saying black people in Africa do not matter. I am not saying black people in Liberia, when it comes to justice, they don't deserve it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is there are more justice to be fight in America here. If you give black people, African people in America here justice, if we stop hunting African people here who try to fight for justice, who try to fight for human rights, who try to fight for reparation, if we stop fighting them and fight alongside with them, then we will understand. If you live from here as a white man going on the African continent to fight for justice for African people, then we will understand what you stand for. But in America here, you are subjugating, you are taking black organization to court because they question your government. They question your system. They want the freedom for black people. They want human rights for black people in this country. And you take them to court. You put false allegation against them. The African Socialist People Party, this current time, is an example that the United States government have taken to court. These are the premises that we see, we stand and ask the United States government. We ask advocates from the US, are they blind? Are they not seeing the injustices black people are facing in this country? Why are they turning their blind eyes? Oh, because they want for their interest to be protected on the African continent and then use the ignorance of the African people. They use the ignorance of the Liberian people, thinking that the white man is living from a country that is the most violator of human rights, thinking that the white man that is coming from America, the most violator of human rights, coming to fight for them. You see, when you are ignorant and not knowing the truth, your enemies will come in a form of being the savior, not knowing that savior is actually your enemies. Ignorance is a disease. You know, there are some things happening in Liberia. We're going to get to the issue, folks. Let me just lay my premise here. There are some things happening in Liberia. You know, Liberia have seen the outcome of the current government, a puppet government of the United States. They have seen it, right? And it baffles me when I see Liberia talking about, let us pray. Did you not pray before putting the government in? Did you not pray before putting an American-backed government in? Did you not pray? You see, there are some things prayer cannot solve. Ignorance is not a demon that you will go and fast and pray to be removed from in you. Ignorance is not a devil. Ignorance is not a demon that you will go and fast and pray. It don't work in a formula of prayer. So when I hear people saying, let us pray for this, I mean, you're going to pray for another 6 years, wasting your time? God forbid. Ignorance is not a demon that you will cast out of people. What ignorance means is awareness, education. That is what ignorance means. Educate people of the happening. Give awareness to people of the happenings. That's how you cast ignorance out of people. Let's continue here. My premise will explain, maybe you did not get me, but you will get it as we go on along with this discussion today. Now, I hope you can see this. I hope you can see this. I think the next thing that we're about to do, or I'm about to do, I think I got to write a book about Liberia. Because if we don't do these things, the next generation will come and it will go with the same narrative that the United States will give them. Because they won't have the time, or they may not have the time to go and do research like this. But if books are there already for them, waiting for them to come and read, it would be better to save the next generation. Because even with this current generation, we do not have book written about Liberia. If you see a book, it is a book approved by the colonizer, by the imperialists, by the enslaver. But I will not write a book about Liberia and it be approved. They will never approve it. And any book written about Africa or about any African nation that is not being approved by the colonizer, that is the best book for you to read. And I think that will be my next project, because I already have the information. I just need to sit down and write. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. We want the major perpetrator of the War Crime Court of the economic crime of Liberia to go to justice, to face justice, to be held responsible. We want them to be held responsible. And if the United States is involved, the US should be held responsible. Don't be the judge. Don't be the judge. And that is why the economic workaround court is not going to happen. Because we see foul play. Because it have different motive. Let's continue here. Now, we want to start with Togo. We could have gone beyond even Togo, but because of time, and some people might be in Liberia watching, they do not have the data, but they can buy another data and maybe watch the recording later. But this is education. We need to bring out the information. The United States is not a sin when it comes to the economic and workaround court about Liberia. They keep playing on us because they feel that we are naive, we are ignorant. And that is why they keep doing this thing to us. They feel that we can't read. They feel that we don't have the patience to read. That is why they keep doing what they keep doing to us. But the United States have been a problem to Liberia, and today, what we are fixing, the United States is the cause of it. Now, this article here, it says, U.S. covered an overt operation in Liberia, 1970 to 2003. This article starts from 1970 to 2003. And we're going to read another one that starts from 1820s. All right. Now, you may be wondering, the war was in 1990. But why are you going to 1820s? Why are you going to 1970? That's the only way you will be able to uncover the truth of what been happening in Liberia. Let's continue here. We are not going to read the whole article, okay? But we're going to set the basis and you're going to see what we mean here. Let's continue. Introduction and background. Now, this is about Togo, how Togo was killed. Now, what you're going to see here today, if you leave from here and go with the wrong notion, then maybe I will say you are part of the problem. When you leave from here today, you won't be the judge. When you hear about economic workaround in Liberia, you will be the judge and not the U.S. You will be the advocate and not the U.S. because you will be advocating for the U.S. to go testify in our court. Not the U.S. being a judge or not the U.S. being an advocate or not even a representative, not even a white man that we know are in white, that who worked for the Department of Justice throughout the whole year war in Liberia to come be the advocate. Let's continue here. With the support, listen to this, folks. This is Togo, right? We're going to start from there. We're not starting from Charles Taylor. We're not starting from Doe. We are here to uncover the truth. With the support from the United States Navies, American Colonization Society funded Liberia as an American colony. Now, this is not in a Google search. What you see here is not a Google search. This is not something that you just go Google and see. But let's continue here. For those of you that say Liberia was never colonized, with the support of the United States Navy, the United States Army, the American Colonization Society funded Liberia as an American colony in 1822. With the intention of sending rebellion. Now, we have said this, the people that were sent to Liberia, they were not free. They were not free slaves. They were not free. They called them rebellion slaves. Sorry to say this to our brothers and sisters, but history need to be taught. No hard feeling. History need to be taught. That is what Marco Garvey said. One who does not know his or her history is like a tree standing by the bank of a river with dry trunk and malnourished. So we will teach the history here. They were not free slaves. But the Google search will tell you they were free. They were sent so that they can go back to their home. That is Google search. Or that is what an American documentary will give you. But let's continue here. With the support from the United States Navy, the American Colonization Society founded Liberia as an American colony in 1822 with the intention of sending rebellion black who were formerly slaves and limit the responsibility of the United States government. Liberia was granted the flag adopted was similar to that of the United States, but which only one star. Now, again, for those of you that says with the Google search, it was a native woman and a free slave that went and sat down and designed the flag and fixed the flag. That is another quasi, that is another lies that is being told because they feel that we are lazy. We can't read. Let's continue here. We'll get to the main part, but let's continue. We want to see how Turbo was killed. We want to see how the United States have continuously played its role in a destabilization of Liberia that currently we are fixing. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. To reduce the administration costs of the colonade and limit the responsibility of the United States government, Liberia was granted independence in 1847. Now, you see how Liberia got her independence? Liberia did not get her independence because they were fighting America or they were fighting a colonizer or they wanted to get independent from the colonizer like Ghana, like Nigeria, like the other African nations. Do you see the reason why Liberia got her independent? First of all, let's do this clear. The man who was the first president of the Republic of Liberia, Joseph Jenkins Rabo, before he was a president, he was the third governor appointed by Washington, D.C. Before he became president, he was a third governor appointed by Washington, D.C. And why was he appointed by Washington, D.C.? Because he worked under the second governor, Thomas Buchanan. And when Thomas Buchanan died, they appointed him because he could play the role. He already knew what to do. So do you see the reason why Liberia got independent? Let me read that again. Maybe you did not get it. Maybe you did not get it. Let me read the reason why Liberia got independent in 1847. Liberia got independent in 1847 in order to reduce the administration cost of the colony. Why? Because at that time, the governors were appointed by Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. were paying more money to the white men than the black men. That is why even when you read another history, February 13, 1829 to 1830s, the United States Congress sat down and drafted a memo, a resolution to the United States President to increase the salary of American representatives in Liberia who are working for the American government, to increase their salary, while the American Liberian salary was not equal to the white people who were assigned in Liberia by the American government. Let's continue here. That is, when it comes to Liberia, we're still learning. But we will challenge any American government or any American intellectual. We are ready to debate with them at any time. And the so-called political elite of Liberia, we are ready to debate with them at any time. And the so-called bourgeoisie and the so-called horse negro, we are ready. Liberia will be free. I said this before. It's going to come a time the United States position in Liberia will be like the French position in those French-speaking countries today. It's going to come a time we're going to tell the United States to take her embassy from Liberia. The time going to come. I can tell you that for sure. Let's continue here. So the reason why Liberia gave her independence in 1847, it was because of this. To reduce the administration cost of the United States, to reduce the administration cost of the colony, to reduce it. Did you see that? They did not say Liberian people were fighting. No, to reduce the administration cost of the colony and to limit the responsibility of the United States government and to limit the responsibility of the United States government. Liberia was granted the flag. That means Liberia was given a flag. They grant you a flag. Come on. When they grant you something, what? Did you fight for independence? They gave you it. Did you face your flag? No, they gave you a flag. They gave you a flag on the day of 1847 because you had a governor, Joseph Jiggy Rabba, who they took and then they made him president, and then they gave him a flag. And not only that, they gave him a constitution. How can you gain your independence and you did not even write your own constitution? You did not even decide on which color of your flag. And they brought American flag and they grant you it. They brought constitution and they grant you it. Let's continue. Now you know why Liberia gave her independence. That is what our so-called independence, I don't celebrate. It is not my independence and will never be my independence. Because for the reason that I know, it was never an independent. So if you celebrate it, you are celebrating the cost of reducing financial capability of the colony from the United States. That's why you're celebrating. And also you are celebrating limiting the responsibility of the United States government of the colony. That is why you are celebrating. And then you are also celebrating because the United States gave you a flag. That is why you are celebrating. You are also celebrating because the United States gave you a constitution. Let's continue here. Let's continue here. To reduce the administration costs of the colony and limit the responsibility of the United States government, Liberia was granted a flag. Liberia was granted the flag adopted. The flag adopted. When you adopt a child, you're taking a child from another family. But that is not actually your child. That is not actually your biological child. That child have to know his or her parent in the future. You have to take that child back to the parent, to the biological parent, and tell them, this is your child. And tell the child, I adopted you. So they gave her a flag. They adopted a flag to us. That is why America continues to do what she's doing, because she sees Liberia as her child because of the representation that she had there. She sees Liberia as her property because of the representation she had there. She gave her flag, she gave her constitution, and we have those things as our national symbol. And we are proud of it. You see why Liberia got her independence. Let's continue here. So, they granted Liberia, they granted the flag adopted was similar to that of the United States, but with only one star. Although Liberia had all of the outward feature of an independent state. The American Colonization Society, along with the United States government, de facto govern it indirectly. De facto. That means Liberia did not have government. So you see, your 1847 independent, you did not have government. You have a de facto government, and you call that independent? That wasn't an independent, because you were never even a citizen until 1985. 1904, it was Arthur Barclay that recognized you, but now it's still granting citizenship in your own land. American people came and make you an alien and make you stateless. They made you stateless, and you sat down